Hello and welcome to Everyday Tarot, your daily dive into the divine wisdom of the tarot. I'm your host, Camille A. Saunders, healer, tarot enthusiast, and your local witch next door, and today I'm talking about the Knight of Cups. Whether you're a seasoned tarot reader or just starting to explore, this podcast offers daily insights, intuitive messages, and practical advice drawn from the cards. Each episode is designed to help you connect with your inner wisdom, find clarity in your decisions, and tap into the energy of the universe. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, for fresh perspectives and empowering guidance from the tarot as interpreted by me. If you love the show, the best way to support it is by listening daily, leaving a review, and subscribing or following in your favorite podcast app. For monthly hangouts, tarot Q&As, individual readings, and behind-the-scenes peeks, join the Everyday Tarot Patreon family. If you're local to the greater Puget Sound area, check out the Let's Talk Tarot meetup group for the latest event postings. If you're not local to my area, you can join me for a virtual tarot card creation event on Friday, June 20th at 5 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. I'll give you a list of recommended supplies, we'll meet online, and I'll walk you through the process of creating your own cards. The sign-up link is in the show notes if you'd love to sign up. If you're interested in my free PDF with the 2025 5-card tarot spread I created just for you, listeners of the podcast at the beginning of this year, you can get that by joining my newsletter list. My weekly newsletter always has the most up-to-date information on upcoming events, presentations, musings, and info and photos of my day-to-day life. If you don't already know, I'm a sex and relationships therapist, seeing clients virtually all over Washington State. I love working with queer, poly, and witchy clients. If you'd like to work with a therapist that doesn't judge you, is a little bit witchy just like you, and helps you learn how to deal with anxiety, chronic pain or illness, communication issues, self-advocacy, and sex, head to my website and book a free consultation now. You can find the links for any of these offers in the show notes or on my website, CamilleASaunders.com/everydaytarot, in addition to the images of the cards I pull on each episode. All right, so we are in season 9, getting towards the end here, where I'm going all through the Suit of Cups, going through one card per episode. If you haven't listened to my other seasons yet, you can check those out. In season 1, I talked tarot basics. Seasons 2 and 3, I went through all the major arcana cards and an overview of the 4 suits. In season 4, I talked tarot and pop culture. Season 5, I went through 13 common tarot spreads. In season 6, 7, and 8, I went through the Suit of Wands, Pentacles, and Swords. And now here we are in season 9, where I'm finishing up talking about the Suit of Cups. If you want to hear an episode dedicated to an overview of the whole Suit of Cups, you can check out episode 38. And today I'm talking specifically about the Knight of Cups. So if you have a tarot deck accessible, go ahead and take it out and look at your Knight of Cups cards. I have a couple in front of me from different decks. So some of the images or symbols I see are things that are related to being charming or love or messengers. I see sort of this movement of the knight that we often see on horseback. I see shells and roses. And what else? Let's see here. It's sort of like a shining element. So I'm looking at the Anima Mundi Tarot deck by Megan Wyru-Wenton. On this Knight of Cups card, we see a dolphin or porpoise jumping out of the water, sort of very gracefully through the air, like arcing. And again, often the knight is depicted as on horseback and sort of moving through the card, or the horse is I was going to say neighing up, that's not the right word, like bucking or sort of rearing, maybe that's it, up. And so this card sort of gives that similar movement. In this deck, all of the cups cards depict different water animals. So this one with the dolphin or the porpoise going through the card makes sense. We see a cup sort of suspended in the air above the water, and then we see sort of a starry night background. But perhaps it's like daily light, like the sun's rising or setting, because we see some light in the sky there. I was going to check to see if there's any other information in the tarot deck guidebook related to this card. Let's see here. So again, this is the Knight of Cups. It says it's a common dolphin. The ever-charming Knight of Cups is a man in touch with his intuition, uses his heart rather than his head to guide him through life. He's also a man of adventure. Now is the time to start exploring and putting your dreams and passions to action. So upright, it's about romance, adventure, charm, and intuition. So there's that charmingness again. And the Goddess of Love tarot deck by Gabriella Herstick and illustrated by Julia Popescu. We see a person sort of arcing their back, sitting down. We don't see their face. We see sort of their body as they're sitting down. We see, like I said, red roses and different shells, like ocean shells, depicted on the card. There is this sort of like arcing or like shell, like the Fibonacci sequence, like a spiral movement. Indicated on the card, sort of with the roses and the shells. So again, we get that sort of like ocean element, water, right? The cups are a water sign. And here actually the knight is renamed to the Witch of Cups. It says the Witch of Cups is the love witch whose chalice is filled with couture potion for those who inspire and seduce her. She weaves spells through her flesh, heart, and body. She is a vision of love embodied, but she is not passive. Follow her quest for the holy grail of romantic and divine love with the flame of the goddess in your heart. You are being called forth to ride your golden horse, to turn your most divinely perverse fantasies into reality. This is a card of seduction and flirtation, so embrace the desires of your heart. Perhaps you know someone who is led by love in this way and who you may turn to for inspiration, guidance, or erotic experiences. Yeah, so we get this sort of charming element again, as well as this sort of like sensual or embodied aspect of it. Again, like not in the passive way, but in this like embodied, somatic way. It's also making me think about that right now is we just had the full moon at Sagittarius, which also has this sort of like fantastical, fiery, spicy feel to it. And that's sort of what's making me, that seems related to this card right now. And then finally, I'm looking at the Therapist Who Tarot deck, prompts by Drea Bloom, and images by Rebecca Bloom. So we see the Knight of Cups here. It's sort of, we just get an outline of a person's body. We see their face. They have blue, like eyes and nose and lips and eyebrows. They're holding a cup in front of them, and then we see sort of all this like glimmers or shining coming off of it in different colors. All the lines are in dark purple, and then we get sort of yellow and blues and other purples coming off of it. And again, the word associated with it is charming. This deck does not have a tarot deck guidebook, but does have reflection questions on the back. So they say, what is your relationship with contentment? What are you most proud of? And what boundary must you strengthen? All right, so let's get into some of the books I have and their interpretations of this card. So in the Library of Esoterica, tarot book by Taschen, they talk about that the Knight of Cups is about fantasies and our inner world. The Knight of Cups suggests the exploration of our interior landscapes. This card can also connote emotional love, proposition, and invitation. Which again, I think is sort of related to that charming aspect of it. It's sort of like vulnerability or sort of putting yourself out there and then seeing like what the other person, if they want to meet you there in return. In the Tarot and Astrology book by Corinne Kenner, they talk about that the Knight of Cups is related to Pisces. It says the flowing emotion of mutable water. The Knight of Cups, like all of the court cards in his suit, is watery and emotional. He is gallant, graceful, and generous. He's imaginative and even visionary. More than anything, he's a romantic idealist who believes that beauty is truth and truth is beauty. Knights, the adventurers and rescuers of the deck, are inherently fiery individuals. Each one combines the element of fire with the element of its own suit. So in that regard, the Knight of Cups embodies the steamy combination of fire with water. The Knight of Cups also represents the mutable sign of Pisces, which makes him charming, sweet, beguiling, and sensitive. He's chivalrous, but he's also boyish, fickle, and forgetful. Like his major arcana counterpart, the moon, the Knight of Cups sees the world through a misty glow. and he reflects the fondest wishes, hopes, and dreams of those around him. The Knight of Cups is a romantic soul. He's a sensitive idealist, a dreamer, and an artist. He's intuitive, and he's not afraid to dive deep into the world of emotion. He'd be quite a catch for any woman, but undines like fish can be elusive. He kind of looks, at least in the depiction in this book, like a mermaid. The Knight of Cups rules the third decan of Aquarius and the first and second decans of Pisces. In a natural horoscope, his primary domain is the 12th house of mysticism and hidden secrets. So again, like the moon and the sign of water, there is this sort of like fluidity, wateriness, emotional, but also sometimes like cloudy and like if you think about liquids or water, right? They fill the container that they're in, they mold themselves. So that can also be this sort of like slippery aspect of the water suit of cups. In the Tarot for Change book by Jessica Dorr, she talks about that all the knights in the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck are on horseback, symbolizing action, behavior, and that which one can be seen doing. The Knight of Cups deals specifically with the realm of water, a connecting energy that commonly manifests in human relationships. The idea is love as a set of actions works because it makes space for love to be something that can feel a lot of different ways. Sometimes it can feel painful and stressful and boring at times, but we choose to commit anyway. Instead of wondering what real love should feel like, we might ask, when I'm loving, what does it look like? When love is seen as a set of actions rather than a singular feeling, it becomes a safe container for uncomfortable emotions to come up in service of healing. Then love becomes a force for human evolution. What's also brilliant about this idea of love as a set of behaviors is that you can apply it to self-love too. Self-love can seem hard when we don't feel particularly affectionate toward ourselves, but if love is a set of actions, self-love doesn't need to be a prerequisite, but can instead be a byproduct of loving action, of making choices rooted in self-preservation, honoring personal limits, and accommodating vulnerabilities with an eye towards the things that are precious. We can perform loving actions for others and ourselves and let feelings come and go. And finally, let's look in the Fearless Tarot book by Elliot Adam, how to give a positive reading in any situation. So the Knight of Cups in here is talked about as the brave messenger of love. The Knight of Cups is the tarot's brave messenger of love. The knight can communicate his deepest feelings without fear or embarrassment. Everywhere he rides, love begins to flow. He represents all forms of love, romantic, passionate, platonic, and familial. He can reintroduce a lonely person into a world of friends and can bring renewed passion to an intimacy barren relationship. This is because he does not let fear, embarrassment, or shame keep him from opening his heart. He reminds those who believe they are alone that they are connected, valuable, loved, and accepted. The Knight of Cups appears when it's time to be emotionally courageous. Do you have a hard time expressing your feelings, even to the people you are closest to? Are you too shy or too scared to open yourself up to connecting with others? When did you last feel passionate or romantic? The Knight of Cups is eternally optimistic that the future will be brighter than the times before. He bravely directs his horse over the river, crossing into the realm of the heart. The horse treads mindfully and carefully into the sensitive realm. The knight knows that the heart is not as fragile as it pretends to be. It can heal amazingly, however, it must be open to do so. The Knight of Cups urges you to bring some passion and excitement back into your life. Share, flirt, take a risk, make new friends, but most importantly, be vulnerable. The knight presents his cup as a gift to you, much like the divine hand on the Ace of Cups. There's no greater gift than love. The more you give this gift, the more you receive. The Knight of Cups inspires you to be courageous enough to express love, romance, affection, and passion. Have confidence in your worth and stop being self-conscious. You don't need to be in an intimate relationship to begin healing your heart. The first step is to be brave enough to open it. So let's dive in and see what the cards have to say today on this topic. of opening our heart, emotional vulnerability, and being open to kind of new experiences and adventures, right? If you think about a night on horseback, again, going into new lands and experiences, not knowing what they're going to come up against, but sort of bravely choosing to go forth anyway. How can we embody that attitude as we go forth in our days and our weeks, in this full moon period right now, the full moon in Sagittarius that just happened as I'm recording this? Let's see here. And I'm pulling from the Citadel, a fantasy oracle deck by Ben Inkwright. Let's see here. I'm going to do one more shuffle. Okay. I pulled the Witch, which is all about experimentation and rebellion. I'm sensing more protest magic. Let's see here. Okay, and I pulled this upright, so I'll just read that definition. The scent of new fruit hangs in the air, bright and refreshing. A pestle grinds in its bowl, the sound of stone on stone, a soothing repetition. Just as the first plants of spring burst forth from cracks between the paving stones, so too does the witch push their boundaries in search of new magics. Knowledge exists only to be expanded upon, reshaped, and reformed to a new and exciting purpose. The world is full of old wisdom, but some advice is too outdated for the modern lives we live now. Tradition is a set of guides, not a strict rule book. If you find that you're being held back by how you should approach a situation, break from tradition and forge your own route. Surround yourself with others who think outside the box and embrace a new tradition. Well, I love that, right? So even if that new tradition is being emotionally vulnerable, I know as a therapist, I sometimes have clients come in that have maybe never been in therapy before. This is new to them. And therapy is a very emotionally vulnerable place, or at least it should be a place where that feels safe to do so. But for a lot of us, and for a lot of people, right, that it might be the first time feeling like you can actually be totally vulnerable with someone and actually share everything that you're thinking or feeling, because hopefully you're not as worried about how they're going to receive that information as maybe you are with other people that you're in relationship with. And so this card is also calling us, right, forging your own route, right, that maybe there are traditions or rituals and maybe that can be helpful as a guide, but that doesn't mean we have to do exactly those things forevermore because they are tradition, right? We can think about the reasons why and the fact that rituals or traditions can be a thing that we choose to take on and create for ourselves or choose to carry forth with other people. But it also doesn't mean that it is, in my opinion, the most sacred thing to just follow the rules, right? Sometimes knowing the meaning behind things and creating your own traditions or rituals can bring about the most like emotional vulnerability, to be honest. And sometimes it can be very emotionally vulnerable to make choices that are different than maybe your parents did or other people in your lives or things that, that just didn't feel right to you at the time. So this card's really calling us, right, to learn about new things, to expand, to find people that we can be in community with, right, who think outside the box, who maybe are embracing these different ways of being or traditions, and pushing our own boundaries too, which again, I think, right, this Knight of Cups card, right, calls us into saying that maybe also that is this aspect of emotional vulnerability. Maybe that is the bravest thing that we can do right now. So links for the tarot decks I talk about will always be in the show notes and on my website if you'd like to look at them or purchase them. And thanks for joining me today on Everyday Tarot. Just as a reminder, the podcast comes out daily, Monday to Friday, for all of 2025. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.